The 85X from Origin Jumpworks is currently causing a stir as a serious contender for Ship Showdown 2955. But for many, it came out of left field, and for good reason. On the surface, there doesn't seem to be much. At a glance, it's just another snub. But beneath those smooth Origin panels lies a ship with far more utility than most expected. Dressed to impress, tuned to bewilder, the 85X proves that sometimes the whole really is greater than the sum of its parts. Welcome back to ForgeCore Gaming. I'm your host Phoenix, and this is my honest review of the Origin 85X. Before we get started, I'm working to start ramping up my review production schedule since we're just a few months away from IAE, and a lot of players like to have up-to-date information on ships so they can make informed decisions before they buy. So be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our new videos. And leave me a like if you enjoy insightful Star Citizen content. One more quick note, we've recently partnered up with theimpound.com, so if you enjoy getting discounts on ships in Star Citizen, be sure to check out the link in the description for theimpound.com. Using that link gets you a small discount from the most trusted gray market ship seller in the Star Citizen ecosystem. Just a heads up though, using that link does benefit this channel in a small way. No pressure of course, as we at ForgeCore are huge proponents of the idea that most ships in Star Citizen can be earned for free just by playing the game. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Let's kick things off with a quick look around the exterior of the ship. Starting at the front, the 85X takes a slightly different approach than most ships we typically see. And what I mean by that is, unlike many other vessels, there aren't any boldly placed guns or aggressive armament staring you dead in the face. Instead, Origin opted for clean, uninterrupted lines that wrap elegantly around the cockpit, which is framed by a massive glass canopy, offering some of the best views from the pilot seat in the entire game. Now that doesn't mean the 85X has no teeth. The weapon placements definitely take a backseat to the styling, because this is, first and foremost, a gentleman's ship, at least on the surface. From the front, if we crouch down and move back just a bit, we get a clear view of the 85X's size 3 remote turret equipped with dual size 2 weapon hardpoints. And as we continue to move further back, we see a smooth transition from the main fuselage into the beautifully sculpted wings, which each carry a size 1 hardpoint, port and starboard. One thing worth pointing out, I really enjoy how the primary thruster intakes are seamlessly integrated into the wings rather than feeling like they were slapped on as an afterthought. It helps maintain those signature Origin lines. Swinging around to the back, we can take note of the twin primary thruster exhausts, which, once again, blend flawlessly into the rear bodywork. And before we head inside, it's worth mentioning that while the 85X doesn't come with a cargo grid for hauling boxes, it does feature an external storage compartment capable of holding nearly 1.5 SCUs worth of gear, perfect for stashing a few items during your travels around the verse. You can access that storage by opening up the radial menu on the driver's side or port side of the cockpit, and this is done by long pressing the F key and then moving your mouse to the desired selection. Moving on to the interior, let's start off with the passengers. As we climb in, we can see that there really isn't much to look at, but we do have the option of toggling the power over here, as well as entering the remote turret. Now again, the remote turret is located on the underbelly of the ship and has a full 360-degree view and firing arc once the landing gear is stowed away. Moving on to the driver's side of the cockpit, as you'd expect, we get a bit more in the way of multifunction displays, of which there are 3 that are nicely placed in the immediate eye line, as well as a small selection of buttons and switches, but for the most part, things are kept fairly simple. Now I did mention that this ship has some of the best pilot views in the game, and here's what I mean by that. As you can see, you have pretty much an uninterrupted view, which not only makes for a good flying experience, but also comes in really handy should you decide to enjoy some spirited flying or combat. And now that we're done with the tour of the ship, let's go ahead and do a quick stat review, after which we'll discuss everything that makes this ship not just good, but great. Now in its stock configuration, the 85X comes with the CF series of laser repeaters. Again, that's 2 size 1s and 2 size 2s. And it has a stock sustained DPS of 584, which admittedly is low, but surprisingly effective when fighting against other small ships, all the way up to size 2. and that's primarily because of its flight characteristics, but we'll touch on that in just a moment. Its shields are also on the low side as it has a single size 1 shield, so it has only 1,470 shield HP in a bubble configuration, and its hull HP is equally low at just 2,800. So this thing is fragile, very, very fragile. But again, it makes up for it in other areas, and here's how. First off, in a straight line, the 85X can get up to 230 meters per second unboosted while in SEM mode and boost all the way up to 550 meters per second. So it's on the faster side of the speed scale when compared to most ships. Realistically, it can only be outrun by ships that have a true interceptor tune. For example, the Avenger Titan that boasts a 260 meter per second unboosted SEM speed and a boosted SEM speed of 610 meters per second. But that disparity doesn't really put it at a disadvantage because its pitch, yaw, and roll rates are high, very high, at 65, 65, 215 degrees per second respectively. Given that it also has a very low mass, the 85X can point its nose in pretty much any direction on demand and just zero in on it. And that's not just in theory, I tested it, but more on that later. When it comes to dimensions, the 85X is 14 meters wide by 13.5 meters long and only 4 meters high, which is small. Not Pisces small, but still pretty small. Just for giggles, I tested to see if it could fit in the back of either the Asgard or the Starlancer series of ships, but sadly it was just a little too big in both cases. But that's okay because despite this having only 1 SEU of quantum fuel, it can still travel roughly 100 gigameters before needing to refuel. Just for reference, that's more than enough to get you from Area 18 in Stanton all the way out to Obituary in Pyro without stopping for refills. When it comes to hydrogen fuel, it has only 4.5 SEUs on board, but that's more than enough to hold you over until you get to a site where you can fill up. And now that we're done with the stat overview, let's go ahead and dive into a practical discussion about the use cases of the 85X. Now, I was a bit hesitant to do a review on this. A couple members from my org, they've been talking about it for months now, and I just never really put any real stock in it, because all I saw was just another Snub ship. And the Pisces from Anvil Aerospace already filled that role for me in my fleet. But when they finally convinced me to give it a go, I started to see what all the fuss was about. You see, this is one of those rare ships that is always ready to be used. Its standard claim time is just a minute flat, but can be expedited down to instantly available for the low cost of just 510 AUEC, which is something that not even the Pisces can claim. So when you need a ship right now, you can walk up to any ASOP terminal in the game and get exactly that. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure every Star Citizen player has been in a scenario where all they needed was a quick shuttle that they didn't have to wait a couple minutes for. This fills that role. On top of that, it's a 2-seater. So if you have a buddy that needs to get somewhere fast along with you, you only need 1 ship. Speaking of co-pilots and passengers, as we discussed earlier, the 85X actually has a meaningful way for a passenger to contribute should you encounter any trouble out in the verse. That being the remote turret. On paper, it may not seem like much, but remember, the 85X is very fragile, but nimble, meaning in a combat scenario, the pilot can focus on making the 85X do what it does best in combat, outmaneuver almost anything. All the meanwhile, the co-pilot has nearly unfettered opportunities to fire back on attacking ships. And though it doesn't pack the biggest punch out there, the 584 DPS was enough for me to single pass kill several ships in lower difficulty bounty contracts. In fact, I successfully took out an Avenger Titan in a single pass during an LRT bounty contract, and that was like the second bounty I did in this thing. It's just so easy to use because it doesn't fight against you when you tell it to do something. Just for giggles, I took it all the way up to MRT level bounties and was really annoyed at how good it was at taking out the enemies. In all seriousness though, during back-to-back MRT bounties, not a single ship stood a chance and I barely got hit. Which means, as small and diminutive as the 85X is, it's still viable for making some form of income if you're okay with spamming bounties. And the operating costs? Negligible. You're looking at hundreds of AUEC if you need to repair and refuel. And never mind missile costs in that either, because it doesn't have any, which, I could take it or leave it when it comes to missiles. They barely work for me most of the time, and this technically isn't really intended for combat, it's just a bonus. Now, another added benefit of the 85X being snub size is that it can be called from moon outposts with garage services, so just in case you need to call one up while you're out and about, you can do just that. Technically speaking, if you're using moon bases to repair and restock, and you'd rather save the money, you can just instantly call one up and forego the repair fees. I don't usually do that, mind you, but it's available to you. Now, just because I have all of these great things to say about the 85X doesn't necessarily mean it's a shoo-in for a purchase from the Pledge Shop. In fact, right off the rip, I'm going to tell you, do not pay real money for this ship. The reason being is that the 85X is really easy to earn in-game at the price of just 573,300 AUEC. Even for new players, once you get the hang of bounty contracts, this is realistically just a couple hours of grinding those out. Or if you have a medium or large hauler, you can get this in less than an hour of moving boxes. But in the cash shop, it's $50, which would be much better spent contributing to the cost of a multi-role ship that could help you earn credits in-game to buy other ships. That being said, I think this is a definite buy with in-game credits. I just can't justify recommending it as a cash purchase when, despite its multifaceted utility, it can't really contribute to a slew of impactful gameplay loops. Ships this size are just limited in that regard by nature of their design. And that about sums up my review, guys. Drop me a comment with your thoughts on the 85X from Origin Jumpworks. I'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss it when we put out a new video. Finally, drop me a like to let the YouTube algorithm know that you appreciate the work we do here at ForgeCore. As always, thank you all very much for watching. Fly safe out there, and I'll see you in the verse. Phoenix out.